I'm not sure if I'll do this again. He did, in fact, do it again. I just graduated high school. With that being said, I decided to take another flight challenge. This is 6 flights in 2 days. But first, for those who are new to the channel, hi, I'm Sky. I'm a small-town plane spotter with big ambitions. My favorite hobby? Sharing about aircraft's history on planes you normally wouldn't research, as well as finding defunct airlines that I've never heard of. I also really enjoy sharing my video footage. Recently, I graduated high school and I'm committed to Kent State University in their professional pilot program, a dream I once had now coming to life. But now, let's jump right into the video. Well, good morning everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today I am flying over to Denver, Colorado. Something I've never done before. The first time I actually flew by myself was to Atlanta, then Richmond. You know, that video that didn't go so well. But anyway, I'm hoping this will go a lot better, and I'm hoping my experience will be a lot better. So stay tuned. Right now it is just past 3:30. All right, good morning everybody. I just pulled into Roanoke Airport. I'm now in the economy lot, which used to be the overflow lot. But since Roanoke is redoing their parking lots, it's now called economy. I was trying to get to the overflow lot, which is free, but unfortunately all the signs were taken down, so I just decided to go back to the economy lot, which is a lot closer to the airport, and get my ticket. Anyways, yeah, I can't wait to take you on my trip, and hopefully, hopefully, knock on wood, knock on everything, nothing is that delayed. That's definitely not like my first trip report video. Anyways, I'll see you in the airport. I'm here really early because I know there's a Delta A319 leaving Roanoke just before my flight does. I also know Roanoke doesn't have the most efficient security management, especially when some bigger jets are coming out. And coming up the escalator? Yep, I was right. But don't worry, that line only took about 15 minutes. Well, I'm at Roanoke Airport. My flight to Dulles is going to take off soon. It is 5:45 right now. My aircraft today is November 10156. It is an E145, and we will analyze that in a bit. After finding my seat, I got this interesting photo with a story behind it. The line worker needed to move the jetway to fill the CRJ 700 that was flying out to O'Hare, but the ground crews weren't finished loading the bags, and the pilots had some weight and balance issues. Frankly, I don't understand the line worker's point of view because we clearly weren't ready to move, and she was arguing with the purser and the pilots because the other line workers had trouble loading bags. So what if the O'Hare-bound CRJ is delayed by a few minutes? That's why we make time in the air. I don't know. The A319 pushing back is November 370 November Bravo, originally delivered to Northwest Airlines on December 11, 2003, transferred on a merger to Delta Airlines on January 5, 2010. She's 21.5 years old and is flying to Atlanta with a flight time of 1 hour and 3 minutes. She was also involved in an incident. Aviation Safety Network says this. Delta Airlines Flight DL1111, an Airbus A319-114, was approaching the gate or at the gate in San Antonio International Airport when a ground crew worker was ingested into number 1 engine. The man was fatally injured, and it was later determined that he had intentionally stepped in front of the engine. My condolences to the family involved. Soon enough, we got our weight and balance issues sorted, and the jet bridge finally disconnected. We also started our pushback with an automated safety briefing that sounded exactly what I would expect a normal airplane speaker to sound like. Exits indicated by lighted exit signs. Anyways, we made our way over to runway 24. lined up to runway 24 and took off normally. We soon climbed out through the clouds where we could see nothing. I sure hope our next flight will be better. When we got near the Shenandoah River, we could actually see the ground, and by then we were starting to descend down to Dulles Airport and getting set up to land on runway 19 Center. Well, we are in the air, so here's a little bit about the seats. It's like entertainment all the time. This is safety car. Safety car. We also have beverages on board, stuff to buy. There's my little backpack. The seat, there's although one of them is has a true story. My head is pretty closely sealed, but it's just a small plane, so I'm not too worried. The view is I think we're just flying in clouds the entire time. But we'll just see as I continues. No Louisville for this flight since it's so short, but next one should be. Our plane today is November 10156, a beautiful Embraer E145XR, originally delivered to ExpressJet on February 13th, 2004. ExpressJet was a regional subsidiary of Continental Airlines when this plane was in a beautiful Continental Express livery, soon making the United rebrand. She was then sold to Trans-State Airlines that operated 7 ATR 42s, 4 ATR 72s, 8 Embraer E120 Brasilias, stored or scrapped 24 E145XRs, and having 87 others still flying. Trans-State Airlines was a regional brand flying for multiple different airlines, and the airline had to close up shop when travel demand plummeted due to COVID. Then she was sold to Commute Air on May 20, 2001. She's 21.3 years old, but she took me to Dulles. No way! With a flight time of 47 minutes. And just a couple minutes later, we start our descent. Honestly, feels like we're accepting. Feels like that. Yeah. Still, can't see it. I hope it gets better, but I honestly feel like it's going to go for it. I can't let sense of myself. Which is good. Should be getting into Dulles pretty soon, which is something I like to hear. We start our base leg where we get a clear view of Dulles Airport, where I'm going to spend the next 2 hours at. But let's get ready for that landing now.
Don't forget to check your seat back pocket to make sure you have all of your belongings, and be careful when opening those overhead bins. If you checked your carry-on bag and received a green tag, you can claim that carry-on bag on the ramp. All other bags are going to arrive at your destination and/or baggage claim. And as a reminder, folks, smoking is not permitted until you have reached a designated smoking area. Once we arrive at the gate, we'll hand you off to airport team. They'll be more than glad to answer any questions that you may have. United and Star Alliance partner flights do depart from various terminals, so make sure you check those monitors in your apps for the most accurate up-to-date gate information. And on behalf of the entire United Express team and Star Alliance partners, thank you so very much for getting up early this morning and joining us on this flight into Washington, Dulles. Everybody have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
Whoa. Why do people do this the second the seatbelt sign turns off? We arrived 18 minutes early and the air stairs haven't even pulled up yet. Why are they so impatient? Alright, landed into Dulles. It's very interesting here. There's like these cool airport shuttles I've never seen before. Looks like a door is open right now to the D gates. I'm not sure what that is, but something maybe to check out. I don't know. I just lost my old earbuds. Here's a new earbud test. Is this better? I don't know. I don't know where the microphone is. Wow, this is crazy. This is what happens when you board an almost full Boeing 757-300 out of a gate that probably shouldn't have one. We are getting boarded onto the Boeing 757-300 on the way to Denver. Here's our plane that will take us to Denver today, a beautiful Boeing 757-300, my favorite aircraft. I also paid an extra $250 to get preferred seating booking, and I'm really glad they didn't change my seat around. Delta. Pretty soon we start our pushback, and my goodness, this is the slowest pushback I've ever done. I'll push it to 2x for you, but I had to sit through all this.
The following safety demo, even if you're a frequent flyer, as each aircraft type is different. Please read the safety card located at your seat and follow along. Whenever the seatbelt sign is on, please take your seat, fasten your seatbelt level tight across your lap. To fasten, slide the lap metal into the buckle, tighten the buckle, and second the strap. Bring the buckle to release. In case of unexpected turbulence, keep your seatbelt fastened, even when the seatbelt sign is off. Please take a moment to look around you and learn how to direct yourself in this aircraft. This Boeing 757 is equipped with 8 exit doors for each side of the aircraft. If the doors are open, emergency slides will automatically inflate. It's unlikely that a water landing, all exit doors except those located behind the wings are open slide rafts, which detach from the aircraft and are used as life rafts. The two doors located just behind the wings are equipment slides and should not be used in a water landing unless advised by a crew member. You can also find 2 life rafts located in our compartments. One is in the ceiling compartment at the window exits, and one is in the ceiling compartment at the window just after the wings. There are also 4 window exits over the wings. When open, ref slides will automatically inflate. If needed, life rafts are located in the window range of the outdoor wing exits. In a water landing, do not use elevator exits unless advised by a crew member. All 12 exits are marked on the right sides. As you locate the 2 exits nearest your seat, remember they may be behind you. If you must evacuate the aircraft, exit path lights on the other floor will guide you to an exit, and a change in color exit sign will help you locate an exit. For everyone's safety, keep all paragraph maps behind. Use a emergency on your seat and operation of the exit doors on this aircraft. It is also unlikely that a necessary oxygen mask will drop from above your seat and the rescue ceilings. If the strap appears and you cannot reach the mask, pull down the strap to access your mask. Remove the mask to extend the plastic tube and strap the full oxygen. Place the mask on your nose and mouth. Slip the elastic band over your head and tighten the straps. Oxygen is slowly in the back is not put your mask back over all the others. In the unlikely event oxygen is needed, contact a slide with these coverings before putting an oxygen mask. Should you need to find a light vest with an activated light in the pouch, door between your seats, or direct pull the temperature to the pouch. If this is sharp, remove the film around the pouch, tear the pouch open, remove the nut from the vest. Slip it over your head, wrap the belts around your waist, and secure it to the muscles in front. Put the loose end tight. Just before leaving the aircraft, inflate the vest by pulling down sharply on the red tab or by blowing into the tube. This aircraft is also equipped with inflate light vests which will be distributed if necessary. Smoking, vaping, or using e-cigarettes are smokers to not on this aircraft. FAA regulations prohibit tampering with, disabling,
taking off right now in the airplane.
Here's a freeze frame of an Ethiopian A350-941 since it taxied in while my plane was getting to depart. She is Echo Tango Alpha Yankee Alpha, delivered to Ethiopian Airlines on November 7, 2020. She is named Geneva and is flying a very interesting Fifth Freedom route, which carries passengers between two countries that are different from the home base of the airline operating the flight. She just landed from Rome with a flight time of 9 hours and 7 minutes. Here's a quick taxi time-lapse of our plane taxiing out with a very quick taxi time, which is surprising, and taking off from runway 30. What an amazing takeoff that was. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. We departed 25 minutes late off of the gate due to the 757-300 taking a really long time to board. After firing off runway 30, we started climbing through a cloud layer, and it was just a blank sheet of cloud. I was really excited to watch the lantern from the Hillsville Flats, but oh well. Maybe I'll see it tomorrow. Traveling west, I got the tiniest break over the clouds on some rolling hills, and the clouds came back making for a really boring flight. Our total time is 3 hours and 26 minutes, cruising at 32,000 feet. Soon we started our ascent when finally the clouds kinda broke up, and I got to see some really flat scenery. It makes me wonder how the people in the middle of nowhere live from a grid of dirt roads every mile. How are their lives led from a rural and unpopulated area? How do people live from the perspective of a rural farmer whose only cornfields and empty plots seemingly forever? Does it ever end? Well, yes it does, because suddenly there's a sprawling suburban neighborhood and we are landing in Denver. And scammer gets scammed. We were back in the air, circling for hours. Just kidding. We went around and lined up again for runway 35 right, making a nice landing and taxiing in still 1 minute early. I know I kinda spoiled the flight, but I hope you keep watching. I still have my whole flight review to go. Right, the legroom here is not as good. I saw my backpack under the seat. But we are on a 757-300, and I have a pretty nice view. A lot better than the Atlanta flight from Atlanta to Richmond earlier. But yeah, right now you can't see much, but just clouds, which I've been seeing all day. I wish I could see some ground, but I don't know if that's going to happen, at least for a little while today. Got a couple more hours in flight, but I will keep you updated on the flight. The 757-300 is quite cavernous, considering I'm used to regional jets. This is prime treatment, especially for someone who is 6'1" or 185 centimeters. I also tried showing off how much more headroom I have, although I really was struggling quite a bit with that. The crew did their onboard service, and I got myself a Stroop waffle. Alright, everybody, this is our loo. Looks pretty clean. I don't know how to really review this, but it's quite small. I don't think there's quite a lot of room. At least it's tall. There's push to flush, the toilet, the paper towel, and the toilet paper. Yeah, it seems like an airplane loo. This plane is really long. I'm standing past the bulkhead row that has a curtain to first class because I'm poor, even though it was about $450 to fly to Denver with my preferred seating upgrade. Alright, just a little less than an hour left in our flight, and yeah, there's still clouds. Can't see anything except our beautiful engine and our beautiful winglet. Yeah, kind of depressing, but so be it. My one problem with this seat is the lack of an in-flight entertainment. I mean, this is an almost transcontinental 4-hour flight, and not even, it says unlimited Wi-Fi. Yeah, there are movies and stuff on the Wi-Fi, but I couldn't find that menu. It opened up once and then just wouldn't open up for me again. Maybe I didn't try hard enough, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of disappointing, but I can't be too disappointed. I am on my favorite aircraft type after all. Our plane we are flying on today is November 57870, but I'm not going to voice over the rest of this since the video can do the talking for me. This is a video that I caught of the plane taxiing in Dulles. Pretty soon we start our descent into the mile-high city of Denver, finally putting an end to this pretty boring flight due to the lack of in-flight entertainment and knowledge on where we were. Go around? Whoa! Whoa!
I have to get to it's okay. I have to get to Boulder by pick up a rental car and so forth. So something did not happen.
Back in the pattern, and we'll be touching down in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, I feel so special. The go-around also got me the chance to take some photos of the glorious Rocky Mountains, which sometime I will fly over, Just not this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Denver, where the local time is 12:01 p.m. Please stay comfortably seated until the seatbelt sign is turned off. You may continue to use and charge your phones and tablets. If you're seated in the exit row, do not plug your devices into the outlets. Don't forget to check your seat back pocket and area around your seat to make sure you have all your belongings, and be careful when opening those overhead bins. Once we arrive at the gate, our airport team will be more than happy to answer any questions you might have regarding checked luggage, as well as connecting gate information. We will be arriving in the B concourse, gate B as in boy, 28. On behalf of our entire United team, especially this Washington, D.C. based cabin crew, we want to sincerely thank you for flying with us. We hope you enjoyed your flight and look forward to seeing you on another United flight again very soon. Once again, welcome to Denver.
Well, look what we have here. Hey, the jet bridge isn't even connected yet, but at least you're more important than anybody else.
It was not air traffic control or anything like that. We weren't close to any other airplanes, but when the computer tells us to go around, we have to follow it. So added a few extra minutes, and I do apologize for that, but welcome to Denver.
Why is he apologizing for an epic go-around? I went up to the flight deck where the pilots were waiting to meet me. I gave the person my phone to take some photos and videos of my conversation with the pilots, but forgot to tell about filming horizontally.
Nice to meet you.
Al, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
It's, let me guess, you got like a wind shear or something?
That's exactly what
I said go around once you're ahead, so we did what I said.
Yeah, we got stuck.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that was exhilarating. I love that.
You play some Microsoft Flight Simulator and stuff, I take it?
Kinda. I try to, but I'm still pretty new at the simulator.
How old are you?
I'm 17. I just graduated high school and going to flight for college.
Okay.
It's my second ride on a 757.
Oh, yeah?
It was the first ride on the 300.
It's my third.
That go around in this conversation with the crew almost made me forget about not having an in-flight entertainment or free Wi-Fi. Well, that was amazing. That was an amazing flight. The crew were so kind. And that go around, that was an insane go around. I really enjoyed that. And I hope you did too. Next flight up is my Denver AirConnect Metroliner flight, which I have been wanting to do longer than I've been planning this trip, but I always thought it was way too far out of my reach until now. Hi. All right. Hi. Here we have our plane for the day, this beautiful SA-227 Metroliner. She's going to take us to the small town of McCook, Nebraska. I decided to sit right beside the engine, a mistake that will soon become known. Experience. Yay. Oh, I got a fogged up window, or dusted. I got a dusty window.
We're all
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Denver Air Connection
Oh,
Flight
yeah,
4133 with service to McCook. Located in a seat pocket in front of you or across the aisle is a passenger safety card describing the safety features of this Fairchild Metroliner. Please follow along as I cover some very important safety information.
What safety
There are 4
features?
exits on board this aircraft. The front entry door, 2 over the right wing, 1 over the left. Please locate the exit nearest you. The cabin is pressurized for your comfort and safety. In the unlikely event of a loss of cabin pressure, an oxygen mask is located in the seat pocket in front of you or across the aisle. When instructed by your flight crew, remove the mask from the plastic bag and plug it into the receptacle directly above your seat. Place the mask over your nose and mouth and secure with the elastic strap. Secure your mask before assisting others. Your seatbelt must be fastened at all times except for when the seatbelt sign is off. To fasten your seatbelt, insert the flat metal fitting into the buckle until it clicks. To tighten, pull on the loose end of the strap, and to release, lift up on the buckle and pull apart. Smoking is prohibited at all times. Federal aviation regulations require passenger compliance with lighted passenger information signs, posted placards, and crew member instructions regarding seatbelts and smoking. The cabin is equipped with a fire extinguisher located in the coat closet across from the passenger door. To operate, remove from the bracket, hold upright, pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, and squeeze the handle to activate. Other than that, thank you for your attention, and once again, welcome aboard this afternoon.
ATM brake, and landing your handle. Parking brake, belting harnesses, your right door, and verify exterior lights, control lock, power labels, speed labels, smoke, seatbelt, no smoking, air conditioning, and area to the right.
couldn't tell already, there's absolutely zero legroom at all. My backpack was taking most of the space. Honestly, I'm surprised it didn't go flying due to some of this turbulence. Alright, but in reality, this is a very comfortable ride, especially considering how small this plane really is. Reviewing the in-flight safety card, there wasn't much out of the ordinary, just seemed like a normal plane. And there's the barf bags too. But then, this. An oxygen mask in a bag that hooks up to those metal sockets in the ceiling, which I know is something unique to the Metroliner. That's really cool. Here we have our aircraft. This is a beautiful SA-27DC Metroliner with no information about its history. I'm using Aviation Database here, which is something I don't usually use because the UI isn't as friendly. Anyways, what I lack in aircraft information, I have loads of in incident and accident reports. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? On June 13, 2007, a pilot reported a main gear unsafe indication on rollout. Visually checking the gear, found the outboard turn-on pin missing. On June 7, 2010, after takeoff, sparks were noticed exiting the tailpipe. Aircraft returned to airport and landed without incident. After shutdown, on pulling the engine through for cooldown, the engine caught and could not be spooled. Upon engine teardown, the compressor diffuser seal was found to have moved, allowing contact with the impeller. The seal retainer was worn away until the retainer ring released. On January 24, 2013, on climb through 14,000 feet, flight crew noted engine temperatures increasing and the bypass system activated. Power lever movement had no effect on engine and flight crew pulled the stop and feather control due to over-temperature conditions. Aircraft diverted. The personnel performed troubleshooting and found the fuel control unit had been ran away due to internal failure. Engine was removed from aircraft to conduct over-temp inspection of engine hot section. Supplemental report to follow, defective FCU to be sent to vendor for evaluation. Supplemental report to follow. On March 20th, 2015, upon landing, the landing gear door warning light illuminated. On maintenance, found broken bolts on right main landing gear door actuator assembly. On March 26, 2015, the pilot reported that the gear door warning illuminated upon landing found broken bolts on the right main landing gear door actuator assembly. That was the second difficulty of this type on this aircraft within 1 week. Replaced bolts and performed extensive gear retraction tests, found actuator bell crank bearing worn and replaced. On May 31st, 2015, the right main landing gear failed to lock up in position after takeoff. Recycled landing gear successfully reported issue to maintenance after the flight cleaned and lubricated the right main landing gear. My goodness, what is up with this right main landing gear? On November 9th, 2015, the right main landing gear collapsed while towing aircraft into a maintenance hangar. Aircraft sustained damage to aft fuselage, right wing nacelle, right propeller, and possibly right engine. Found bolts which attached positioning cams to upper drag brace. Sheared investigation into cause and cause factors underway. On March 21st, 2023, the pilot reported an E2 failure, spool back, followed by chip detector light. Maintenance removed and replaced the first idler, diaphragm, and planetary gears. On March 10th, 2025, R&R number 3 main landing gear brake line bled, brakes, IAW, SA22, yeah, no, that's all technical stuff. An FAA incident occurred in February 25th, 2004. On February 25, 2004, at 8:05 Mountain Standard Time, a Fairchild AS-227 DC, November 882 Delta Charlie, operated by Key Lime Air's Flight 375, was substantially damaged when it slid off the runway during landing wheel at Garfield County Regional Airport, Wrightville, Colorado. The airline transport certificated pilot and the commercial certified first officer were not injured. The instrument meteorological conditions prevailed. An IFR flight plan had been filed for the non-scheduled domestic cargo flight being conducted under the provisions of Title 14 CFR Part 135. The flight had departed Denver International Airport, Denver, Colorado at 7:26 during a telephone interview with the pilot. He stated that an instrument approach was flown at a higher speed than usual, and as a result, the airplane touched down approximately 2,500 feet beyond the approach end of runway 26. The runway was met with rain. Despite the pilot's attempt to stop the airplane with brakes and full reverse on the engines, the airplane began to slide sideways and went off the departure end of the runway. The right main landing gear caught in the dirt in the end of the runway. The airplane tipped to the right, resting briefly on the right wing. The propeller blades from the right engine impacted the ground, sending debris into the right engine. The 4 propeller blades were bent, and outboard 2 feet of the right wing was bent up. Wow. If I knew all that information, I probably would not have gone on this flight, but I'm so glad nothing happened. Anyways. Our flight today took us out of Denver Airport, departing on runway 34 left, making a right turn, and cruising on over to the sleepy town of McCook, Nebraska. With a population of just 7,253, this flight is a twice-day essential air service commuter to Denver. The locals say it's a 5-hour drive to Denver and at least a 1-hour drive to any interstate around. McCook sits right between Denver and Omaha, which is the other largest city in the area. We were cruising at about 16,800 feet with a total time of 48 minutes. Since there was no cockpit door, we got a preview of where we were going to land. I found that really neat.
everyone, welcome to McCook. Give us a moment to get your plane side bags. As soon as the captain gives the thumbs up, I was going to say the okay, the thumbs up, you'll be free to leave.
Okay.
Here is our empty plane and the plane from the outside. Welcome to McCook, Nebraska, which is a town that I've never heard of until I found this flight. This plane was almost full today, having 8 out of 9 passengers in seats today. Welcome to McCook, Nebraska, a sleepy town of 7,253 and quite far from any major city with almost equal drive between Denver and Omaha. McCook is at least a 1-hour drive from any major roadway, so it's basically in the middle of nowhere. The terminal building is super tiny as well, with 90% of it being taken up by a security zone and a little roped off area, which is meant for the secure zone for people to board. I was most surprised about the newer bag scanner, especially considering only 18 people max are scheduled in and out of McCook daily on twice daily services from Denver Air Connect Metro liners. Hi again! Are you going to be pilot flying this time?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Alright. Check your last boarding pass. Perfect.
Cool.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm trying not to hit my head again. Is there a place where I shouldn't sit?
Huh?
Is there a place where I shouldn't sit? Oh, cool. I gotta tunnel my way over here. My son's way in the back today. That sounds really cool. It's like the opposite. Alright. Actually, I want to move over here. Yeah. I like this seat. Oh, cool. Get that wing view.
Cheers. Looking for a child Metro liner, please follow along as, of course, some very important safety information. There are 4 exits on board the front entry door, 2 over the right wing, 1 over the left wing. Please look at the exterior too. The cabin is pressurized for your comfort and safety, and unlike the event of loss of cabin pressure and oxygen mask is opening the seat pocket in front of you across the aisle. When you're checking by flight crew, remove the mask from the plastic bag, plug it into the receptacle above your seat, place the mask over your nose and mouth, and secure it with the elastic strap. Secure your mask before assisting others. Your seatbelt must be fastened at all times except for the super signs off. To fasten your seatbelt, insert the 5-metal fitting to the buckle to a quick seat tighten. Pull on the loose end of the strap to release, nip up in the buckle pull apart. Smoking is prohibited at all times. Federal aviation regulations require passenger compliance with lighted passenger information signs posted, placards, and room restrictions regarding seatbelts and smoking. The cabin is equipped with a fire extinguisher. Look in the coat closet across from the passenger door to operate. Remove from the bracket all the fire, pull the pin name at the base of the fire, squeeze out and activate. Thank you for your attention. Once again, welcome aboard.
I couldn't see anything.
It was in my ear, so yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, I already can't hear because I sat way up there last flight.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. That's one thing you do once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it. Now I can't hear. As for the seat, it was really comfortable and had first class style legroom. I also got my wish on what the middle of nowhere America really looked like. No wonder nobody lives here, there's absolutely nothing. We took off normally from runway 22 and made a hard right and flew west, cruising at 18,000 feet. Soon we had to go southwest to avoid some gnarly storm clouds that if we flew through, it'd probably end our flight very differently. We also descended to 14,000 to go under some pretty rough air and finally went through 10,000 feet for the rest of the way, avoiding the storm as we got closer to it. The storm cells were situated a little bit east of Denver, but they looked pretty scary. Luckily, we soon got lined up to runway 35 right, and we took off a little late at 5:13 and landed into Denver at 5:23 when we were scheduled to take off at 4:50 and landed at 5 due to the storm cells being over Denver at the time we were getting ready to depart. Our flight time was 1 hour and 9 minutes. Better time to talk about this aircraft than now, because all I could find were incident reports. I'm stealing this from my trip report too, so buckle up. Here we have our aircraft. This is a beautiful SH-27DC Metroliner with no information about its history. I'm using Aviation Database here, which is something I don't usually use because the UI isn't as friendly. Anyways, where I lack in aircraft information, I have loads of in incident and accident reports. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? On June 13, 2007, a pilot reported a main gear unsafe indication on rollout. Visually checking the gear, found the outboard turnion pin missing. On June 7, 2010, after takeoff, sparks were noticed exiting the tailpipe. Aircraft returned to airport and landed without incident. After shutdown, on pulling the engine through for cooldown, the engine caught and could not be spooled. Upon engine teardown, the compressor diffuser seal was found to have moved, allowing contact with the impeller. The seal retainer was worn away until the retainer ring released. On January 24, 2013, on climb through 14,000 feet, flight crew noted engine temperatures increasing and the bypass system activated. Power lever movement had no effect on engine and flight crew pulled the stop and feather control due to over-temperature conditions. Aircraft diverted. The personnel performed troubleshooting and found the fuel control unit had been ran away due to internal failure. Engine was removed from aircraft to conduct over-temp inspection of engine hot section. Supplemental report to follow. Defective FCU to be sent to vendor for evaluation. Supplemental report to follow. On March 20th, 2015, upon landing, the landing gear door warning light illuminated. A maintenance found broken bolts on right main landing gear door actuator assembly. On March 26, 2015, the pilot reported that the gear door warning illuminated upon landing found broken bolts on the right main landing gear door actuator assembly. That was the second difficulty of this type on this aircraft within 1 week. Replaced bolts and performed extensive gear retraction tests, found an actuator bell crank bearing worn and replaced. On May 31st, 2015, the right main landing gear failed to lock up in position after takeoff. Recycled landing gear successfully reported issue to maintenance after the flight cleaned and lubricated the right main landing gear. My goodness, what is up with this right main landing gear? On November 9th, 2015, the right main landing gear collapsed while towing aircraft into a maintenance hangar. Aircraft sustained damage to aft fuselage, right wing nacelle, right propeller, and possibly right engine. Found bolts which attached positioning cams to upper drag brace. Sheared investigation into cause and cause factors underway. On March 21st, 2023, the pilot reported an E2 failure, spoolback, followed by chip detector light. Maintenance removed and replaced the first idler, diaphragm, and planetary gears. On March 10th, 2025, R&R number 3 main landing gear brake line bled, brakes, IAW SA22, yeah, no, that's all technical stuff. An FAA incident occurred in February 25th, 2004. On February 25th, 2004, at 8:05 Mountain Standard Time, a Fairchild AS-227DC, November 882 Delta Charlie, operated by Key Lime Air's Flight 375, was substantially damaged when it slid off the runway during landing wheel at Garfield County Regional Airport, Wrightville, Colorado. The airline transport certificated pilot and the commercial certified first officer were not injured. The instrument meteorological conditions prevailed. An IFR flight plan had been filed for the non-scheduled domestic cargo flight being conducted under the provisions of Title 14 CFR Part 135. The flight had departed Denver International Airport, Denver, Colorado at 7:26. During a telephone interview with the pilot, he stated that an instrument approach was flown at a higher speed than usual, and as a result, the airplane touched down approximately 2,500 feet beyond the approach end of runway 26. The runway was met with rain. Despite the pilot's attempt to stop the airplane with brakes in full reverse on the engines, the airplane began to slide sideways and went off the departure end of the runway. The right main landing gear caught in the dirt in the end of the runway. The airplane tipped to the right, resting briefly on the right wing. The propeller blades from the right engine impacted the ground, sending debris into the right engine. The 4 propeller blades were bent, and outboard 2 feet of the right wing was bent up. Wow. If I knew all that information, I probably would not have gone on this flight, but I'm so glad nothing happened.
Everyone, welcome to Denver. Thank you. Give us a moment to get your plane side bags. As soon as the captain gives the thumbs up, you'll be free to go, okay?
Thank you.
Enjoyed having you on board.
Yeah, thank you. That was. You're getting bumped around everywhere. Nice job flying.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Oh, fraud. Don't want any fraud on here.
Have a good one, okay? Have a great
You too. Thank you. Of course. If you couldn't hear, they asked me to take my picture, which I, of course, said yes, as you heard. This now becomes one of my favorite photos of myself that I have, hence I used it in my intro. Here's the cost breakdown for the second flight. I had to book a separate ticket because the website wouldn't allow under a 1 hour layover on the same itinerary, and it cost me $89 to fly back to Denver. Alright, hello everybody, and welcome back to Denver. A lot of the crew that were boarding the plane recognized me, like the rampers and stuff, and like, oh, so you just took a flight, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I just took a flight. It was a really fun flight, and I took it. Yeah, I don't know what to say. That was a lot, even though my ears may forever be altered by some Garrett engines. I think that's a-okay with me. Alright, walking up on my hotel after a lovely cabbie took me in his van. Got me here like 30 minutes before the other guy would come back because he just left. So here I am at the Hyatt House. Well, this is my hotel room. I was wondering why I was paying $150 for this. It's a freaking suite. And that's all my stuff. Shoes, backpack, and sweatshirt. I don't need this room. It's what I got, but okay. Alright, I severely messed up. When I was booking my Delta flights tomorrow, I thought I got Delta flight 623 or something. The 1040 out of Denver. So I could have over 4 hours of plane spotting in Atlanta. Apparently, I got the 431, which leaves me with a 51-minute layover in Atlanta. Knowing Denver, I know that they rack up a lot of delays in the afternoon, so I might be cooked.